250 state-run Three Self churches in the eastern province of Anhui, which has the second largest Christian population in China, in the first 4 months of this year. Additionally, 656 state-run Protestant churches in the province saw their crosses removed during the first half of this year. The Three Self Church in the city Yingdong district, which lost its cross in April, was told by authorities that the cross demolition campaign was a part of a national policy. If a church refuses to remove its cross, congregation members may lose their social benefits like pensions and poverty alleviation subsidies, and possibilities for their children's future employment will be affected, a church member explained. United Front Work Department officials who removed the cross from the church in Hanshan County informed church congregants that any crosses taller than government buildings must be demolished because they overshadow state institutions, a church member told Bitter Winter. China ranks as the 23rd worst nation in the world when it comes to Christian persecution, according to Open Doors USA's 2020 World Watch list. David Nasser, Liberty University's campus pastor and senior vice president of the school's Office of Spiritual Development, apologized on Wednesday night to students for the shameful sex scandal involving the institution's former president, Jerry Falwell Jr., saying that they deserved much better than this. The Board of Trustees of the Liberty University, one of the largest evangelical Christian universities in the world, announced on Tuesday that they had accepted Falwell's resignation, effective immediately after he and his wife Rebecca were implicated in a sex scandal on Monday. The resignation comes after a tumultuous weekend of Falwell, during which it was first revealed on Sunday that his wife had an affair with former pool boy Giancarlo Granda, 29, which began 8 years ago. Granda allegedly later attempted to blackmail the couple. Falwell said he was shocked to learn about his wife's affair, but Granda contradicted that claim Monday when he said he had engaged in the affair with Falwell's knowledge and provided audio he said as evidence supporting his claim. Becky and I developed an intimate relationship and Jerry enjoyed watching from the corner of the room, Granda told Reuters. He claimed his liaisons with Rebecca Falwell were frequent, happening multiple times per year, noting that they would meet at hotels in Miami, New York, and the Falwell's home in Virginia. In a statement he published on Twitter Tuesday night, Granda further slammed Falwell and his wife as liars, noting that the Falwell abused his position of authority at the Christian university and even sent him a photo of a female Liberty University student exposing herself. Nasser said he wept as a result of the fallout from the incident and took time to honor all the athletes who chose to remain at Liberty on Wednesday, while describing the string of incidents that led to Falwell's exit as shameful. We still believe in the God-given vision that was given to us in 1979, and together we're going to make sure we are on God's path to accomplish this vision more than ever before, he said. A federal appeal court has ruled in favor of a trans-identifying student as it pertains to use of school restrooms. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled 2-1 on Tuesday that Gavin Grimm, a biological female who identifies as transgender and has been at the center of a lengthy legal battle starting several years ago, had been discriminated against, and that maintaining sex-specific bathrooms was a violation of the Title IX, the Civil Rights Statute pertaining to educational arena. The Richmond-based court held that for a school to prohibit a transgender identified student from using the restroom of his or her gender identity is not constitutional. The two judges that ruled in favor of Grimm were appointed by President Barack Obama. The dissenting judge was a George H. W. Bush appointee. The same appellate court had previously ruled in Grimm's favor in the original case and was set to be adjudicated in the United States Supreme Court in 2017, but it was vacated in light of the change of presidential administration that took place. When 29-year-old Wisconsin father Jake S. Blake was shot multiple times by police officer in Kenosha on Sunday evening, one of the first things his devout Christian mother, Julia Jackson, did was call her pastor at Inside Church in Skokie, Illinois. I just got a phone call that my son had been shot by the police multiple times. It just happened. Inside Church pastor James Ward Jr. recalled Jackson, who is a member of his church intercessory team, saying during an interview with the Christian Post on Wednesday. It was about 5 p.m. on Sunday, said Ward, when he had got Jackson's call while traveling by car with his co-pastor wife, Sharon. There was just an initial response to pray, says Ward. The first thing that we did when she communicated to us, we prayed and we asked God to spare his life. That was our exact prayer. Goal number one, Lord, spare his life. And Blake lived. It was confirmation, Ward said, that God heard the church's prayer and they believe Blake's survival is a miracle. Hurricane Laura unleashed massive destruction across wide swaths of Louisiana and Texas after pounding the region relentlessly for 11 hours, unleashing winds of 150 miles per hour. It was the most powerful hurricane ever to hit the state, even stronger than Hurricane Katrina. In Louisiana, they're picking up the pieces after Laura raged for more than 170 miles across the state with deadly hurricane-force winds. Laura is now considered the fifth most powerful hurricane to ever hit the United States. The storm took the lives of at least 6 people in the state, knocked out power for 900,000, and left behind a trail of devastation. But Governor John Bell Edwards pointed out it could have been so much more destructive, saying, "First of all, it is clear that we did not sustain and suffer the absolute catastrophic damage that we thought was likely based on the forecast we had Wednesday night, but we have sustained a tremendous amount of damage. Operation Blessings team will be working around Lake Charles and surrounding areas, connecting with local church leadership to see what the needs are in those areas. Meanwhile, just because Laura is no longer a hurricane doesn't mean its threat is over. Storms gain strength over open waters. So Laura, after it howls its way across the South and possibly Pennsylvania as a tropical depression, could cause even more destruction as it hits the Atlantic Ocean and takes a likely path up the northeast US and east coast of Canada. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi appears to be laying the groundwork to cancel the upcoming presidential debates between President Donald Trump and Democratic presidential challenger Joe Biden. Speaker Pelosi said she wouldn't legitimize a conversation with the president, speculating that President Trump would belittle any debate and engage in skullduggery. Don't tell anybody I told you this, especially don't tell Joe Biden, she told reporters on Thursday. I don't think that there should be any debates. Pelosi claims Trump will probably act in a way that is beneath the dignity of the presidency and belittle what the debates are supposed to be about. Political observers had wondered if Democrats would look for a way to cancel the debates due to questions about Biden's mental acuity after repeated verbal gaffes in recent months. Now, Pelosi appears to be the first to publicly suggest it, blaming Trump instead of Biden. The Trump campaign recently requested a fourth election debate and proposed moving up the calendar for the contest, pointing out that 16 states will have started voting by the time of the first scheduled debate, September 29th. Israel is sending a team of firefighters to the United States to help battle a deadly war of wildfires in California. The firefighters will depart Israel on Sunday and will work side by side with American responders in California for 2 weeks. The relief mission, which was organized by Israel's Foreign Ministry and the Ministry of Public Security, will include not only firefighters, but forest fire experts as well. Hundreds of wildfires in California have already killed 7 people and burned more than 2,000 square miles. At the worst, some 170,000 people were ordered to evacuate. Cooler temperatures, humid weather, and reinforcements on Friday have helped firefighters slowly get the situation under control enough to allow residents to return to their homes. 2 of the largest fires in California state history are both 35% contained, and around 50,000 people have been allowed to return to their homes in the last 2 days. Despite the progress, California Fire said that it is still extreme fire behavior in the state. Just weeks after announcing its historic peace deal with the United Arab Emirates, Israel will send a commercial flight to Abu Dhabi for the first time on Monday. The El Al flight will carry a US and Israeli delegation to the Emirati capital, where they will continue to finalize the details of the Israeli-UAE peace agreement. The United States delegation will be led by President Donald Trump's senior advisor and son-in-law, Jared Kushner, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, U.S. Middle East Envoy Avi Berkowitz, and other officials. The Israeli delegation will be led by National Security Advisor Meir Ben Shabbat. The Israeli Airports Authority officially listed the flight for takeoff on Friday. The flight will be numbered LY971 as a reference to the United Arab Emirates International Calling Code number. The return flight back to Tel Aviv will be LY972, Israel's international calling code number. PJ Morton, Maroon 5's keyboardist and Grammy Award-winning solo artist, has returned to his gospel roots with the release of his first faith-based album, Gospel According to PJ. Morton collaborated with an all-star cast of gospel artists for this project, including Kirk Franklin, Yolanda Adams, and the Clark Sisters, among many others. The album will be released on August 28th, which is today. Morton grew up in the church and was immersed in gospel music as the son of 2 pastors in New Orleans, Louisiana. His father, Bishop Paul Morton, was also successful in the entertainment industry as a gospel artist known for the singles Let It Rain and I'm Still Standing. The musician, who was expected to follow in his father's footsteps, distanced himself from his roots and became an R&B artist. Just because I got his name don't mean that I am him, Morton raps in the song Son of a Preacher Man. Morton, however, always held his father in high esteem. In a birthday dedication to his father posted on Instagram in July, Morton described his dad as the most consistent man I know. He literally did everything possible to try to set me up for success, whether that was giving me what I needed or withholding what I thought I wanted. That's what father's support is supposed to do. Even when he didn't fully understand me, he supported me. I hope I'm half the man you are. The Trump administration has asked the United States Supreme Court to lift an injunction on a federal rule requiring women to see a doctor before an abortion clinic dispenses abortion-inducing drugs. Earlier this year, a federal judge issued a nationwide injunction against the FDA rule in response to a lawsuit brought by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, a group that has advocated for abortion on demand and abortions for minors without parental consent. Jeffrey Wall, acting Solicitor General with the U.S. Department of Justice, filed a request on Wednesday asking the Supreme Court for a stay on the lower court injunction. The FDA has made and continuously adhere to the judgment that these requirements mitigate serious health risks associated with the drug, which can increase if the patient delays taking the drug or fails to receive proper counseling about possible complications, the petition states in part. While the district court believed that the terms of this injunction would address those risks, there is nowhere to rectify the harms to the patients if the judicial second-guessing of an expert agency's judgment turns out to be wrong. The request also argued in part that the FDA rule did not greatly restrict abortion access, as claimed by the lower court, because overall access remains widespread. Given that the surgical methods of abortion remain widely available, the enforcement of long-standing safety requirements for a medication abortion during the first 10 weeks of pregnancy does not constitute a substantial obstacle to abortion access, even if the COVID-19 pandemic has made obtaining any method of abortion in person somewhat riskier, the petition adds. The Supreme Court has made clear that judges are not to second-guess how officials address public health concerns in areas of uncertainty. Yet the district court dismissed the FDA's expert judgment in favor of its own view that the safety requirements are medically unnecessary. In a medical abortion, women are given two drugs, mifepristone, also called RU486, and misoprostol. Mifepristone works by blocking the effects of the pregnancy hormone progesterone, while misoprostol induces contractions and a miscarriage. In May, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists filed a lawsuit against the rule, arguing that it was medically unnecessary and inhibited abortion access during the COVID-19 lockdowns. In July, U.S. District Judge Theodore Chuang of Maryland issued a nationwide injunction against the FDA's safety protocol, arguing that it interfered with access to abortion. Particularly in light of the limited time frame during which a medication abortion or any abortion must occur, such infringement on the right to an abortion would constitute irreparable harm, ruled Chuang. After years of controversy over protests during the national anthem, National Football League Commissioner Roger Goodell said in an interview this week that he wished he had listened earlier to controversial quarterback Colin Kaepernick's peaceful protests on police brutality. Goodell appeared on the latest episode of the interview series Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, hosted by former NFL linebacker and current Fox Sports analyst Emmanuel Acho. The commissioner began the conversation by claiming he was very uncomfortable, talking about race because of his upbringing with a politician father who was very involved in the civil rights movement. The 61-year-old admitted that he had no idea what was happening in the Black communities in 2016 when Kaepernick and other players began peacefully protesting by taking a knee during the national anthem, something that angered many conservative fans. He said, "Wish he knew back then what was going on in the communities. When I had the chance to sit with our players, I never had the chance to sit with Kaepernick, but I talked with Kenny Stills a lot, Eric Reed, Malcolm Jenkins, Anquan Bolden, so many other players that some of them sacrificed a great deal. Goodell, who has served as the league's commissioner since 2006, shared. Acho, 29, commended Goodell for posting a video message earlier in the year admitting the NFL's fault in not listening to players sooner when it comes to the injustices African Americans face and encouraged them to protest peacefully. In 2018, the league issued a policy to require players that didn't want to stand for the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner to wait in the locker room. The host said the league's statement this June admitting fault was valuable. The Charity Commission announced on Wednesday that it was opening a new inquiry into the Kingdom Church, Great Britain, expressing concern of how the religious organization is being managed. Originally, the commission opened an inquiry into Kingdom Church over its selling of so-called plague protection kits that it claimed would protect and even cure the novel coronavirus. This led to liaison with Southwark Council, which opened a trading standard investigation into the sale of the kits, explained the commission. Since then, the commission has examined the charity's records, revealing concerns about its finances. The regulator is concerned about the accuracy of information provided to the commissioner regarding the charity's income and expenditure. Part of the inquiry will be to examine the relationship between Kingdom Church and Bishop Climate Ministries, which the church said it was responsible for the protection kits. Helen Erner, Director of Regulatory Services at the Charity Commission, said in a statement released Wednesday that the new inquiry stemmed from findings from the first one. Many will have been concerned by allegations about this charity's activities in relation to COVID-19, and so it is right that we and others have intervened, stated Erner. Our own examination into the Kingdom Church has identified further concerns that require investigation, which is why we have now opened an official inquiry. On Wednesday, the Kingdom Church posted a link on its Facebook page to a product it called Spiritual Divine Cleansing Protection Kit at a cost of $65.99. The product in question, which includes virgin oil, yarn, and a prayer card, is marketed as having spiritual benefits through a disclaimer at the bottom of the page which rejects claims of medical healing. You should seek medical help where necessary. This are faith and herbal healing products based on faith and natural products. The disclaimer says, in part, the product description says it was created by Prophet Climate Wiseman, who official website bills him as a highly esteemed man of God that operates under an apostolic and prophetic anointing, reported by the Christian Post. The Israeli Defense Forces said it struck several Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip early Friday morning after 6 rockets were launched at communities in southern Israel. The military said a weapons manufacturing site was among the Israeli Air Force targets in the coastal enclave. Hamas will bear the consequences for terror activity against Israeli civilians, the IDF said. There were no immediate reports of casualties in Gaza. The air raid came after terrorists in Gaza fired 6 rockets into southern Israel. All of them landed in open areas. Israel and Hamas have exchanged fire in the recent weeks as Hamas continues to launch waves of incendiary balloons that have set dozens of small fires in Israel farmlands. Hamas says the rockets and incendiary balloons will continue until the blockade on Gaza is eased. Israel and Egypt imposed a blockade on Gaza in 2007 to keep weapons from being imported into the territory after Hamas rose to power. The blockade has crippled Gaza's economy and left its healthcare system unprepared to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. Egypt and Qatar are working to broker a ceasefire agreement to put an end to this latest round of violence. A 3,200-year-old Canaanite fortress is shedding light into the ancient days of the judges as described in the Bible. Israeli archaeologists and teen volunteers uncovered the 12th century before Christ fortress in southern Israel, close to Kibbutz Galon near Kiryat Gat. The fortress we found provides a glimpse into the geopolitical reality described in the Judges book, in which the Canaanites, Israelites, and Philistines are fighting each other, explained Israeli Antiquities Authority archaeologists Sar Ganor and Itamar Weisben. The fortress is 18 by 18 meters and has 4 watchtowers that were built in the 4 corners. Excavators found a massive threshold carved from round and the entrance of the buildings and the courtyard with stone slabs and columns inside. Rooms were constructed on both sides of the courtyard and hundreds of pieces of pottery vessels were found. They believe a bowl and cup found inside were used for religious ceremonies. Some of the pottery bowls were designed in an ancient Egyptian style, pointing to an ancient drama being played out among Egyptians, Canaanites, Israelites, and the Philistines. In the period, the land of Canaan was ruled by the Egyptians. Its inhabitants were under their custody. Then during the 12th century BC, 2 new players entered the game, the Israelites and the Philistines. This led to a series of violent territorial disputes. The Israelites settled in non-fortified settlements at the Benjamin and Judean mountains. Meanwhile, the Philistines accumulated power in the southern coastal plain and established big cities such as Ashkelon, Ashdod, and Gat, explained Ganor and Weisben. In an attempt to conquer more land, the Philistines confronted the Egyptians and Canaanites on a borderline that probably ran between the Philistine kingdom of Gad and the Canaanite kingdom of Lachish. Samuel Chu, a naturalized American citizen, pro-democracy activist, and a pastor's son, woke up in his Los Angeles, California apartment last month to discover a warrant had been issued for his arrest by Hong Kong police. He's been charged with inciting secession and colluding with foreign powers under a new national security law, according to Chinese state media. Here's a recap of today's news. China removes over 900 church crosses in the first half of 2020. Liberty U.S. campus pastor apologizes to students for shameful Jerry Falwell Jr. scandal. Pastor credits Jacob Blake's miracle survival to prayer with his Christian mother after shooting. Today's news was reported by CBN and the Christian Post. My name is Russell Sarub, and this is Kingdom News. Until next time, do have a blessed evening.